Forget How to Train Your Dragon. This is all about how you ride a dragon these days. The horniness in this show has always been pretty up there, but something with the second season has definitely been cranked up a couple of notches, and honestly, Toru never fails to make me chuckle at just how forward she is and how nonchalantly she can say things like, when they're talking about virginity on a Ferris wheel, and she can just casually say, that virginity belongs to me, no one else. And I love how her mind works in so many ways, like the fact that after experiencing an amusement park for the first time, both her and Kobayashi never been to one. Kobayashi, no real surprise given her lifestyle before meeting these dragons. But Toru, looking at mirrors, to the rides, to the spinning, she comes to the conclusion that this is all a way to simulate what it is to ride a dragon. And while, yes, she's not going pure sexual with that, given all of her dialogue points in this episode, you very much kind of assume where she wants to go from there when she's saying, yeah, sure, you can ride on my back, ride a dragon, but Toru always has a bit more on her mind, and honestly, it's always hilarious. I found this to be one of the more, if not maybe my favorite episode of Season 2. I probably actually would give this one the edge. I liked the patrol section quite a bit, especially given how long it lasted. And the amusement park, I think, was a nice way to kind of tie up the bow. You kick off the episode with Elma. At first, I thought was just being her, right? You know, she's a challenger. She loves to challenge people. And when she challenged Kobayashi in the workplace to, like, this duel, I was like, I really don't know why. But then again, like Toru says, she's always out there challenging her. Apparently, back in the day, they used to have competitions where they would see who could strip humans' clothes first. Very much is starting to really paint a picture of why this girl is so, well, I guess I should say both of them are so perverted. I mean, there was a moment in this episode where she thought she was about to get a kiss, and she's like, well, you have Toru, but if you want me as well, before getting that old forehead flicked. And I'm just like, oh my god, these dragons, like, she could literally have dragon harem if she wanted to. But maybe because of the whole insecurities, that's why she's holding off a bit, because honestly, at this point, it's feeling like the end of the series is her at the very least with Toru, unless they don't go that direction. But goddamn, with the thirstiness and lust of that character, I don't see how she doesn't eventually give in to just the desire that she's kind of like projecting onto her. But the idea that she actually was genuinely worried because they're from two different worlds, and it actually gets brought up by Fafnir in this episode about how we, as dragons, have a very different opinion of that of the humans, and eventually, you know, we won't always agree and things like that. Given how kind of isolated he is as a character, it's no real surprise that he definitely pushes back a bit more than Toru. But it's interesting because she was, like, genuinely concerned for Toru's well-being, for Kobayashi's well-being, because she thought she was a pillar, someone who's just holding up everyone else while sacrificing her own life. And you could probably definitely say that before meeting Toru and the gang, but at this point, they definitely are in a pretty healthy situation. It's just the unhealthiness comes from the perversions, and I think the lustfulness of even characters like Kobayashi and her fixation on maid costumes and things like that. But I really found it to be interesting with the whole patrol, because there apparently is this very shady person all dressed in black doing weird dances on the children's pathway home, and you knew exactly who it was. I knew he wasn't a predator, but I could easily see how he could maybe be perceived as one, given how, like, socially awkward he is. Especially given the fact that, I mean, we've already had some amazing jokes with him this season alone. I didn't clue into it when the episode came out, but it was pointed out the whole reason he got banned from his online game is that because he never took a break, so the servers and the people managing the game just assumed he was a bot because no human could physically play as long as he did. So him doing his weird dances in the middle of basically a pathway for children to go home is bound to raise some red flags, and I love how it's just so great to just see him do it in the background as they're debating who it could be. And just, it's interesting because I just love the idea of someone like Toru who, like, I'm not sure if it probably isn't the first time, but it's only been, like, you probably count on how many times in your hand, how many times Toru's been outside of that maid outfit. So to see her in, like, casual clothing and just walking the streets, beating up literally gangs, I mean, it was funny enough when she, like, just poked a guy and he went down, but just the non-stop, just comedic, it's like the second time today I felt like Team Rocket was getting blasted off to the moon. First with Tsukimichi, now with Dragon Maid. And it was just great to see the absurdity and the level of just authority a character like Toru can get. I mean, it's night and day. Delinquents on the side of the road thinking they're going to beat the shit out of you, to then when you're walking home with Kobayashi, they're bowing and saying, oh, how's your day? Do you need me to put down a towel so you don't get your shoes wet? It's absolutely hilarious just how far they can go. And how a character who in most series would be the one getting walked over is walking over so many while basically presenting herself as this bundle of joy, even if she's like this sexual deviant. She has such a bundle of positivity, yet she can be so feisty, even without being in dragon form, and it's pretty amazing. It's kind of frightening all at the same time when you see Alma and how she pretty much like scares the living shit out of children just because they cross the road in an improper way. It's just like, the show has no chill, and that's why I think the amusement park was probably like the best way to kind of wrap it up. I'm not sure if it adapted like in like chronological order of how it was released in the manga. Generally shows like these, they like to pick and choose to make like a good episode for the anime, but I love the idea of starting with the workplace, having that once again emotional bonding, having the patrol being just absolute insanity, while also kind of like seeing how dragons can blend in with day-to-day society, as you end with them all kind of at the amusement park with sexual, just general funny scenes, and just kind of, once again, some nice bonding to show, just like, they really have come a long way. And I think even more so, because I'm pretty sure they didn't reanimate it. They had a flashback to when Toru, I think late into Season 1, or maybe at the beginning of Season 1, when she stopped a robbery in the market. They play basically what happened there. And it's pretty interesting to see how Season 2 has definitely kept the exact image of KyoAni at the time, while improving and kind of making liberties to become a new version all at the same time. I really think this is the best Dragon Maid has ever looked, and that's saying a hell of a lot after the things KyoAni had to overcome. And I'm really impressed by how I think this might be, I'm not sure if I would go as far as say the, but it's definitely up there for being some of the best representation of what KyoAni has to offer as a studio. Sure, they've done more hyper-realistic series than, say, Dragon Maid, but I think the level of energy and just absurdity and how good the animation and art every single time looks. There's never a bad frame of Dragon Maid. I think it really does bring out the best that this team and studio has to offer, and just, it's incredible. And it'd be interesting to see what a Season 3 of Dragon Maid would look like should they ever pursue it. I mean, it's something that I assume would happen, especially given that, if I'm not mistaken, this is currently the most popular series among all the different pollsters and things like that that have been like kind of tracking it, and I know it does well in Japan. So I'm crossing my fingers for more, but I mean, it's just really impressive, and I'm sure I'm not alone feeling that energy, being like, god damn, KyoAni is just continuing to come back swinging, and in an episode about patrolling, you didn't really expect that type of animation, but when you have delinquents, why not flex what you're able to do once again with that action animation and just expressive body reactions? Incredible stuff, and I really think this is the best episode of Season 2 so far, and it really just feels like we're getting started. I think if there's one thing I do hope to see myself in terms of like where maybe things we didn't get to see as much of in Season 1, I would love to see more Fafnir and just interactions with characters like one-on-one that we haven't necessarily seen so far in the anime. I think there's a lot of potential with a character who definitely is fitting in better with normal human society, but still feels more of like the isolated one from the group. I think there's some pretty interesting possibilities that could happen with that, and I think that's the thing I hope to see the most out of with Season 2. Even without it, it's going to be an amazing season. That is something I'm hoping to see, and they so far have sprinkled in quite a bit that I wasn't expecting, so cross my fingers as always. Let me know down below what you're feeling, what do you hope to see in the future episodes, any character pairings, things like that. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.